Hey there, fine folks. So good to be talking to you again today. At last episode, I was talking with Sarah about their dissociative identity disorder and how they are forging into kink and polyamory. And today, I am super pumped. I will be talking with John, Sarah's husband, and getting his side of the relationship and his perspective on what it's like to be married to somebody with DID and what he's really excited about exploring kink and polyamory and what he's going to be getting out of those things. So it's pretty exciting and I think unique to get to kind of hear two sides of a similar story. So please join me as I talk about sex with John. All right, I am here with John. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Riley.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I am so happy right now that we decided on doing this interview and starting it off with French toast, because French toast is one of my love languages that I can gift and receive. So,
yes, thank you so much for that. That was, I agree.
Yeah.
That's definitely the way to start off the day.
Oh, yeah.
I know you've been really excited to do this podcast for the last several days. Can you tell me why you've been so excited to do this?
Yeah, well, when you first mentioned it, I was thinking, oh, that's great. Oh, wait. You were right. Everyone has a sex life. Mm-hmm. Regardless of if they're having sex or not. Mm-hmm. They have some relationship with sex. And it struck me that I am rarely someone who talks about it and just opens up about it. Yeah. And that's a part of my life that has been neglected for far too long. So the more I realize that life doesn't slow down for anyone, and you either enjoy it while you have it, or you die and have nothing. The sooner I realized, like, hey, let's fucking do this, and I just want to talk about whatever interests me, and sex has always interested me. Mm-hmm. I just never realized how much of it played in my world, in my psyche, and I love exploring that. I'm at that point when it's time to really dig deep and figure out what makes me, John, tick. Yeah. In regards to sex. Yeah. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah. Why do you think that that's been something that has been neglected?
Well, just given a good, concise background, raised fairly conservative, spent all my life down here, coastal Georgia. So, Savannah, then Midway, Hinesville, really didn't have a lot of variety or exposure to sex growing up. It was mostly, that thing whenever the parents are watching a movie and the top comes off of the female lead, oh, John, close your eyes, Mm-hmm. And as the oldest child, I learned very quickly, my brother needs to close his eyes too when I close my eyes. So it was a reinforced reaction to sex. Like, it's private. We don't really talk about it. We, gradually I learned from my parents that, hey, this is how babies are made, when a man and a woman love each other very much. And of course, that was how it was put too, man and woman. So here I am living, or, going through puberty, learning about sex, but only from a very limited point of view. So, learning about, I guess, how I was raised, remembering so much about what was technically programmed into me from an early state, and then what was reinforced, that type of behavior became something a value. It was faith-based as well, because I was raised in the Roman Catholic tradition, being baptized and confirmed and all of that before I realized, what I was attracted to. So I identify as a straight cisgendered male, but there's just so much more that I'm curious about. Mm-hmm. And I know that I still have a very limited perspective. I mean, just I'd say within the past, 4 or 5 years, I've just learned so much about sex. So much that I've never even considered or even possible for me. Yeah, I'm just really stoked about turning a new chapter in my life, discovering more about specifically polyamory and how that ties into my identity. Mm-hmm. Because, yeah, I believe that being monogamous was being good. I equated that value to it, because to be a good, upstanding Christian Catholic man in our world, you had to abide by the rules, and you had to have one partner and be faithful to them. I never saw it as a constraint. I saw it as, I guess I never really saw it. Anyway, I just took it for granted. Mm-hmm. So, you particularly, at a specific alchemy burn, kind of opened my eyes to what the actual terminology is behind polyamory, and led me down a rabbit hole of self-discovery. So, how dare you?
Oops.
Yeah, all the blame.
Yeah, I'll take it.
It's on him. Yeah. But no, gosh, I recently started therapy again for the first time in 30 years by myself. Like, I did it as a very young adult and, preteen. And then later on as a young adult, I did a little couples therapy with my current partner, Sarah, my wife. But yeah, just being by myself and talking with one qualified stranger about things that I know are, in my mind, completely taboo, and things that I don't want to share with literally anybody, especially with my wife, because I'm afraid, and because it's a literal fear, and sometimes I even get physically shaky to even mention the sort of things that I have a hard time vocalizing. And a lot of that is tied in with sex and how my body and my mind react to things that turn me on. And I just know so little. Really excited to get out and explore more about kink and about just attraction, and finding it everywhere. I think is the most exciting part, is noticing that it really does boil down to what gets them going. Mm-hmm. What creates the spark, and where can I follow that brings more joy in my life. The whole reason why I believe we're here is to find moments in which we can just revel in the glory that is life, and sharing that with someone else is really the height of my experience here. And really, partnered sex, that's a great part of that. That's a huge part of it, because you can explore more about your body and about your touch and sensation. Skin on skin contact is the biggest high I'll ever receive. I know this because I've done a few drugs. They are great, sure, and maybe even they're better sex and drugs. Okay, sure, great. Yeah, but still, like, when it's just you and a person's body, it doesn't even have to be about sex. It's more about the chemistry and the engagement that you get, the warmth and the space between skin. I find just fascinating. That's a whole other thing. But when you get to the molecular level, there's always going to be space between any type of mass. It just doesn't. There's no actual collision. There's just reaction with pressure and with heat, and that chemistry is just fascinating, and it turns me on. I can go on and on.
Great, that's what we're here for. So, I would be remiss if I didn't ask, but what are you fearful of?
So, yeah, I know I went on a huge tangent there, but okay. Bringing it all back, we've got young John figuring out that, yeah, okay, girls are hot, great. How do I do that? How do I go about talking to girls? The very first step, hey, let's learn how to communicate. And 38-year-old John, I'm like, what the fuck? How do you communicate? I have learned nothing in my entire adult life about how to speak to someone I'm attracted to.
Well, it's not like it's something that we're taught by anybody in our lives.
That's exactly the problem, I think, is we live in a world where, like, for instance, me, I know that it's completely fucked to only have a faith-based, monogamous, male and female mindset. Like, it breeds toxicity because you're fearful of what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And the less variety, the less exposure that you get in the world, the more it fosters that fear of the unknown. I mean, from a very early age, your phobias are grounded in what you know and what's explained to you, or at the very least, how you feel safe in an environment, I think. So for people that have deep-seated phobias, you get them from somewhere. They're either inherited or they are based on trauma. I'm sorry. I'm going off on another tangent. I found that communicating with my partner, or miscommunication, was a big wedge dividing us. So I discovered, and what I now recognize to be fear-based, is that I did not know how to ask for sex or how to communicate that what my needs were was important to me. And so the way I go about being a people pleaser is that I will go out of my way, and even at a detriment to me, to make sure that Sarah is happy, what I perceive to be happiness, completely cutting her out of the equation. And then now I'm realizing that is a huge part of control. And my control issue was I wasn't allowing my partner the space to make up her own mind about anything. Regarding sex specifically, Sarah is turned on by my brain, and she's told me this. They has told me this time and time again. They love my sense of humor. They love how engaged I get and how excited I get about certain subjects. And they really just enjoy my personality and my enthusiasm. So whenever I'm really in the zone, even if it's something as silly as a video game, if I'm just really into it and trying to explain and get her engaged, she smiles and gives me a little nod, and I know that she enjoys my enjoyment there. And so with her, she's very much sexually motivated by that type of emotional and mental stimulation, less so than by physical looks or physical stimulation. So I realized that a big dividing wedge was me just neglecting to be me and enjoying my life, because Sarah Phoenix is really, really hesitant to communicate her needs as well. We both were kind of butting heads about what we wanted and where we were in our relationship. It just, being married for so long, it just became status quo that I would go to work and come home and do my thing while she worked on her coloring and her art projects and fell into a groove. And it's not an uncommon thing in a monogamous relationship. We just are now dipping our toes in polyamory. Mm-hmm. And I think the big appeal for us is that she can get emotionally stimulated by so many sources now. It widens up any possibility for her to have her needs met, especially while I'm at work, or if I'm burnt out from work. So those are kind of my my natural states now, which can't be uncommon. Is you're working or you're too tired to do anything else.
Mm-hmm. So how is venturing into poly going for y'all?
If I remember correctly, I believe you did tell me that, hey, this is one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I wouldn't change it for the world. And yeah, it's spot on. Just the recent foray, because now Sarah Phoenix has a partner now. They're actively dating when time allows, and I'm very interested in finding a partner for myself. I make excuses for myself about this because I say, I've got way too much on my plate. I've got not enough time. I'm too overworked, whatever. And I'm perfectly happy with Phoenix, right? With Sarah. But that's not true, because I can have more happiness. I don't think there's any way you can limit the amount that you get or the amount of love that you can show. Sarah, I know intellectually, she's right there with me. She struggles a lot because she's got sexual-based trauma. And I make excuses for myself about communicating that desire on my end, because in the past, I've wanted to spare her feelings. Again, that's my fault. That's on me. And I am now able to own up to that mistake. Mm-hmm. And so currently I'm actively making sure that I communicate what I want when I want it. That way, Sarah can feel how she feels and we can discuss. That's what a partnership is. Mm-hmm. It's just taken me so long to figure that out.
Hey, some people never figure that out.
Yeah. And that would probably be my biggest advice for anybody listening is, like, fucking just say it. It is the hardest thing to do. first admitting it to yourself and then being able to admit it to your partner or partners. It will change your world, and it's difficult to do that, to see the repercussions. But I think even worse is living in fear. Anticipating and guessing at the outcome is just so much worse. I don't recommend it. You just need to fucking rip that Band-Aid off and just say the words. But yeah.
Trust that they'll be able to handle their own
That's it.
emotions and decision making from there.
Yeah. And so I am, God, I'm attracted to so many people. It's so, it feels really good just to say that, because there's so much that attracts me about the female form. I'm fairly sure that, masculine presenting people don't really turn me on,
Mm-hmm.
but I've got a type for sure. But
what's your type?
It's so funny. Like I really enjoy the goth look. I love piercings and tattoos that just, wow. Can't stop staring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any kind of body modification, I'm super curious about. Like for me, I have a nary a tat on me. I am so vanilla, it's ridiculous. But I just love so much about how intelligent someone can be, and even that I notice, like, I start gauging my own self-worth against, it's like, I'm not nearly going to be able to stimulate this person enough to get them to be interested in me. And so I've lost the game before I even play it, not to equate to a game. I hate that analogy, by the way. I'm really all about being direct with people now. I just have such a huge disconnect because of everything that's happened in my life. So back to the polyamory. I would love to have either a casual fling just to see how I react. I have been, I guess you could say, a serial monogamous because, I'm either dating in a long-term relationship or single and miserable until I get back into a long-term relationship. I have not had any one-night stands. I don't know if that's something that attracts me, because I like the idea of just, macking hard and just going to the back of the bar and banging one out. Sure, it looks good on paper, but there are a lot of questions that, or red flags, I should say, that my brain just says, nope, not for you.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not, and I'm okay with that.
I mean, you never really know until until you bring it out of theoretical into actual. Right. Yeah.
But
I think that's the whole point of experimenting.
It's of experimenting. Yeah.
And poly now allows you to experiment in ways that you weren't able to before.
That's true.
You got together with Sarah.
Yeah.
But I know that you're also struggling a lot with feeling your own hang-ups about monogamy for yourself.
Yeah.
And what I find so interesting about that is that you don't have that same feeling for Sarah, who is actively dating other people.
It is. It's
and I'm fascinated by that.
It is a very interesting conundrum I find myself in. Because there's, for whatever reason, I feel complete compersion when Sarah is with her partner, even if when we've experienced or experimented before with this little fling situations. Like we went to Vegas to get married. We went to Vegas 2 years later. Sarah, if you're listening, sorry, but there's this a waiter that she fancied, and he happened to work at the same place. We stayed at the same hotel. He worked at the same restaurant. We visited twice, and he was there again. He recognized us, and she just leans over and says, "I really like him. I really just want him to take me up to my room." And I said, "Well, fuck, Sarah, do it. Just go, do it." And so she did. And the whole time I go back to the convention, the work convention, and I'm just laughing to myself, like, this is fucking hot. It was so off the wall, and what I would never have thought myself. I would never have thought of myself as somebody that would be cool with that. Like, so yeah, I've got this compersion feeling now where with Sarah going out, she could be with whomever she's comfortable with. And I'm cool with that as long as they are happy, they're safe, they're doing their thing. I am totally cool with that. But now, what the fuck? Why am I having such a hard time just like opening up about my feelings? I really don't think I've got any serious, I say serious, but it's all relative, like traumas from my childhood. To my recollection, I've never been molested in any way. I mean, I'm a white cisgendered male in America. Come on. I'm at the pinnacle of privilege. So I recognize that, and I still think, what the fuck is wrong with me? Right? Like, why can't I just you jump over this hurdle that I've created because no one else has done it? It's all just internal. I know this. I understand this. I want to be happy because that is, again, my life goal is to max out my happiness stat to overflowing so that it spills all over everybody. A big happiness bukkake. Yeah. But I just want more of what life has to offer. I know polyamory is the answer for me, just for mere fact of a bigger pool of like-minded lovers, friends, confidants, just everybody helps each other. That's my ideal. Like, that's how the world gets better. We just keep lifting each other up whenever we fall down. And I know this is the way. I just gotta figure it out in my own time.
Yeah. So I also happen to know, after interviewing Sarah, y'all are also currently checking out kink as well. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I know my basic turn-ons. You know, I love sex. I love breasts. I love ass. Everything to do with the female form. Like, I've never been with anybody larger bodies or really smaller bodies. More about my physical stature, I'd say. Kind of an average build. So I know I like that. But again, I don't know anything other than that. You know, I've only dated people about my height, about my weight, you know, slightly smaller than me. As far as kink goes, gosh, I just want to explore. I want to play with impacts. Sarah and I, and some previous partners I've had, I've spanked them. I've not really used implements for impact, but I'm curious. I'm really interested to see what gets me going, what turns my brain on and my body on, what gets the blood pulsing. So impact play would probably be a good one for me to explore a little bit.
Topping or bottoming?
Well, I've tried receiving, and I don't know if it's for me. But again, I've just tasted. So maybe if I just can turn off the part of me that says, yeah, no thanks, I don't like pain, and just say, okay, instead, pain is happening. Let's just see what that means, right? And I've been pain averse my whole life. Like, I know that I don't want to hurt myself. And I think a big part of that mentality is so many people are relying on me. So I feel this huge sense of duty and responsibility to my family, to my partner. Being the oldest child, that was reinforced in me. So if I am in pain, something's wrong, right? Something's wrong. You got to fix that. And turning that part off is going to be a journey. I do want to experience more bottoming because I've always had a control issue. The issue is I'm in control all the time until I can't be anymore, and I just fucking flatline, right? I'm just knocked out. I can't do anymore. So the burnout is real, and it's because I want to make sure it goes my way. Letting go of that is a big part of my therapy right now, and knowing that we're all human. We all have limits. Finding that limit, finding the balance within, that's when you can truly be happy and allow yourself the time and the energy to explore, to play, to awaken the creativity that may have stagnated. And I know mine has. It's a big part of kink, I think, will help me just open up the receptors, just breathe it all in, get a lot more of the touch and the feel and the response that my body has been craving. yeah, I want more of just skin on skin. So whether it be with a stranger and having a barrier or whatever, it's going to be fun just to get out, find someone I'm comfortable with, and let them take charge and relinquish control and really get a sense for where my body and mind can agree to agree that it feels good to relinquish. Yeah.
And personally, I've found that it depends on the partner as well. It depends on the person that you are playing with that can allow a different mindset or a headspace to be more comfortable bottoming or topping, and because of the personal dynamic that you have with that person. So I can see how you may not be comfortable doing that with your wife because you have this long history and you already kind of have her in a very specific box, so to speak, in your brain, and you see her in a very specific way. But with somebody else, it's a totally different relationship, and maybe you have a completely different dynamic with them, and therefore would potentially be more comfortable allowing yourself to be in that space and not in control and taken care of.
Yeah. I think I would really enjoy the submissive because I've tried to dominate so much of my life and I keep seeing it fail because I'm overreaching. Maybe what I do need is someone to take care of me for a change and to experience that, to integrate that into, oh God, it's okay to just sit fucking back and let somebody else take the wheel. Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason that CEOs and senators and stuff have professional DOMs.
Yeah.
It's for exactly that reason.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Whew.
You okay?
Yeah, no, it feels good. Let's see, what else am I interested in? Because there's just so much. That was just like 2 things.
Kink definitely has that rabbit hole effect where you start your journey into kink and starting to explore, and then you realize how much you have no idea about so many different kinds of kinks. And the longer you're in that kink world, the more you discover, and it just continues. And I'm convinced that it's going to continue just like that until I literally die. Because kink is just so expansive, and you can turn anything into kink. Yeah. And the things I've seen and the things I've done and read about and heard about it's just never ending. Yeah. But that's what I find so exhilarating about it as well, because it's a never ending journey. I'm not going to stagnate. And if I do stagnate, that's my fault. It's not that there's nothing left to discover or explore or play with. It's that I've stopped. And I don't know if I'll ever stop because it's all so fun, and I love that exploration personally. Yeah. It is something to aspire to. I'm really excited for you, and just for you to stop in like this in our life temporarily, and our friendship means a lot to me. Yeah, we're getting to the point where Phoenix and I, her being my primary, we can explore more, find more beautiful souls like yourself to kind of, just open the door, because I think I need to have that moment of panic, because I found in theater that stage fright is a tool to tap into. Oh, interesting. That nervous energy before you get up before hundreds or possibly thousands of people, or even a dozen or 2. It's that anticipation of what the fuck is behind the curtain and what are my lines. It's that energy that actually makes any performance, whatever you decide as a performance in your life, to be unique and fresh and new. And that's one of my favorite things about live performances, is that you never know what's going to happen. You never know that something could fuck up in life and the light could come crashing down. And it's about that moment of the unknown, exhilarating and terrifying for me. And I think now with polyamory, with you and so many other in our community opening that door for me, I can see just a hint of what's beyond the threshold. But for me to really get an idea, I've got to take that step and relinquish control and give in to the void of possibility. So that's what I think
this whole thing's about for me, is just taking a moment, living in that fear, recognizing it, and saying, okay, I'm okay with this. I can handle this. I can handle the pain. I can handle that naked feeling of exposure and feel the skin surrounding me, the oxygen going inside of me, and say, okay, fuck it. Take a step and find out. Gives me shivers. But yeah, that's kind of what this is about for me. I gotta, and I must. I know this is imperative for me. This is who I am. If I define myself as a creator, I need to create. And that fear has been holding me back from that. But I think the fear is what drives me to explore. The way you've described, like, there's always more to experience. So yeah, for me, it's about living in that particular moment of unknown for just a bit, and then making sure that moment passes. If I stay in it, nothing changes, and I wake up and it's another day of the same. It's not who I want to be. I want to be okay with me, and I know that self is dead every morning unless I choose something new.
I mean, all great inventions happen because there's a need for it, right? Because we go through a hard time.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, nothing changes if everything's perfect and happy all the time.
Yeah.
But I also don't believe everything is perfect and happy all the time anyway, so you better keep growing and keep pushing and keep challenging yourself.
Definitely. I've accepted the fact that I'm probably not having children in my life. Like, me personally, being a father.
Is that what you want?
No. And it's taken me a while to admit that to myself. I don't want to be a dad. Not right now. But if ever, I am totally fine with adopting. That's something I could do whenever I feel comfortable doing. Sarah's on board with that as well. But for me, childhood it's difficult to describe. I guess, yeah, I don't think I want kids for any of the reasons that I've heard before. For me, it's more like, I just want to be free to do whatever the fuck I want. I think, yeah, it's a selfish reason, but I think it's okay. And I'm admitting it to myself now that being selfish is not the worst thing in the world. It can lead to great things. And I know that procreating sexually would be something that would not bring me the joy that I believe it would. Or that I used to think it would, rather. Or that I was told it would. By so many sources growing up. Yeah, I think for me, sex is more about just being present in your body and allowing your communication with another body to play and have fun. Not to say to be children, but to be childlike. To give yourself room to explore and discover. Because that is what I think so many people miss out on when they grow up and get married and get a job and have kids, is that they forget what it's to be childlike. And that quality is, from what you've described, that discovery and growth phase. We pack so much into, 10, 15, 20 years of growing up. So much of that gets waylaid when your body physically stops growing or just, begins to change gradually like we do when we age. Mentally, if we don't keep that curiosity burning and that growth happening in the folds of our brain, then yeah, we're just giving into the fear, I think, and letting everything stagnate.
So when I was interviewing Sarah before, they spoke a lot about their modes or altars.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, as their husband, how that has been for you, especially because they've further discovered it or fleshed them out more in the last few years, especially. So I'm curious, especially how that's been for you guys sexually, or does that affect y'all's sex life ever? Or I'm just kind of curious to touch on that a little bit, because that is such a big part of them,
it
and
really
therefore
is.
Both of you.
It really is a big part, and I think that subject is hopefully going to be pretty interesting for everyone. I am fascinated by this because Sarah has several alters. We can kind of clearly identify, I'd say, about 7 or 8 specific personalities, right? They all are vastly different and completely unique as to what drives them, what they're afraid of, what turns them on. And gosh, I thought I was marrying one person. Didn't seem to be the case, and we are both along for this ride. And it's great. I'm not saying it's an easy ride, because it is very difficult. Mental illness and past traumas are so prevalent and so misunderstood, because there's so little credence given to anything as far as mental health goes in the States here, and well, a large part the world. But Sarah's, I'd say, overall arcing personality, she identifies as Phoenix, which is everyone. Sarah, she kind of hid it as best she could. Not to say that I didn't know what I was, quote unquote, signing up for when I married her, because I knew that there was lots of past there, and I knew that there was a lot of struggles that were ongoing. Mm-hmm. And I love her, and I love them regardless, because we just fit so well. And I love her to pieces. And I love every piece of her. But yeah, some of the alters are, some are asexual. There's a child, there are personalities that want to stay as far away from sexual energy as possible. Mm-hmm. And the alters will let you know that that's not welcome by another one immediately coming to the rescue. That's how this operates. And so learning how to navigate that has been ongoing, and it has been very, very difficult at times, to the point of, I feel there's abuse going both ways. And so, not to say abuse, I would say that is a very strong word, but there is a lot of manipulation, because there's not clear-cut communication. Hmm. So when an alter presents, and I had no idea how to engage with that alter, when either Sarah was hiding it from me, or I was too stubborn to acknowledge it, and there's, these things happen, regardless of someone if has alters or not, I would either completely retreat and just leave the situation, or I would blow up, get angry, essentially become my father, right? A very stubborn individual with nothing but a loud voice, and I'm going to stomp on the ground. So there's instances in which you find yourself at the height of passion, whether it be anger or fear or frustration. You just have more to understand and to navigate when you're dealing with an alternate personality. You don't know when it's coming and when it's going, so you have to be really quick, and you change your mode to match that personality. So it's kind of like I was already polyamorous before I even knew it. Now, sexually, we haven't explored sex with the alters yet. Mm-hmm. And I think that is something that Sarah and some of her alters would be curious about too. So it's about finding the right time and the safe space in which to discuss that. Yeah. We've played a little bit with Kitty, which is one of her 18-year-old firecracker, doesn't want to take any shit from anyone, stubborn as a mule, but smart as a tack. Like, she's great, but she's also the alter that will come up to prevent anything from happening to her little alter. Mm-hmm. So her young alter Sasha. So with Kitty, I can see very much if if I were to explore within my marriage any type of bottoming, I would bottom for Kitty, because Kitty totally gets off on that power. And I would probably be okay with that. That's something I could definitely play with moving forward. But we just got to find certain ways to do that, some safe ways to work that out.
Yeah, I can definitely see how kink will allow, specifically kink, will allow for y'all to find ways of interacting with the different alters, because kink is so broad and not necessarily inherently sexual either.
Yes.
That can also help with the more intimate connection with their alters and being able to explore that space together.
Yeah. Sasha being the little alter, I know I can be a good big for her, because there's so much playful quality there. And I do enjoy having that little bit of control play there. Sasha says she's not a brat, but that just kind of makes her a little bit more brat-like. And I'm totally cool with that. It's completely cute and adorable. I don't think that will be a sexual relationship, but yeah, that's still something that we can definitely get a lot of enjoyment out of, just because we have a safe space to play in. Yeah, the two of us. Yeah. And with Sarah, she has a few hang-ups about being open. I think more with the polyamory, just because she doesn't want, like me, she doesn't want to put anybody out. She doesn't want her alters getting in the way or manipulating a relationship in that regard, because it's a lot to navigate. And I mean, I'm still learning how to cope and communicate clearly with everybody involved. So yeah, Sarah Phoenix, they are completely unique, and I love them very much. They love me very much. And moving forward with, I think, more exposure to kink and figuring out where her alters and I can get along and explore, that's going to be huge. Yeah, we're going to have a lot more to play with. So yeah, I'm excited to see how we're getting by.
Y'all mentioned that you're trying to go to Frolicon this year, right?
Yep.
What are you looking forward to with that?
Yeah.
Frolicon is a kink convention that happens in Atlanta every year. Everybody.
I mentioned the stage fright thing, and it's like, doesn't even factor into how I'm feeling until boom, right there, So it'll definitely be about jumping off the high board, into the pool and getting completely submerged into this world. I am going with a couple people that are familiar with the space, so I'll be able to dip my feet in and feel comfortable with going in with them. And one of those is one of Sarah's boyfriends. So we will go together, and still I'll have time to hopefully explore by myself, because I think that's a huge thing for me. I see myself so far intertwined with my primary. I think it's become toxic in my mind. I want to be able to separate myself from my partner. I think that's important for the reasons I've kind of gone into, is because I found myself manipulating the conversation before it started. So the toxicity is self-inflicted, and I know this, and it's about making sure that I allow myself the freedom that I've been negating for so long. Just go out, explore, get into some weird situations in which I feel safe, first and foremost, but still experience that little bit of danger to the point where I can recognize, hey, just checking in. Are we good? We're good. Okay, let's go. I want to grow, and I know that Frolicon will be a really good place to grow.
Yeah, Frolicon's wonderful. I've been going for a decade. That's weird to say. And first time's always really scary. We've never been to a kink convention before. But I think especially that because y'all have a friend group to land in and help show you around and be comfortable with, that makes a big difference. Yeah. But regardless, even if you didn't have the friend group,
and you just go to observe. It's scary, but it's a wonderful experience, and I highly recommend it to anybody who's interested. Frolicon especially is excellent for the full spectrum of people, like vanilla but curious, all the way to 24/7 master-slave relationships, and everything in between that. And it really is a convention that you'll get whatever you're looking for out of it.
Yeah.
And some people treat it just like any con, like Dragon Con or something, where they just drink and hang out with their friends.
Sure.
And they don't do any of the panels. They don't do any of they don't go to the dungeon or anything like that. Yeah. And then other people, they are there to do kink, and they're very, very serious about it. And they've crafted their own furniture to bring to the dungeon on a specific night to do a specific scene that they've been planning out for the previous month or two. And, you know, like everyone has this different energy. And then other people go specifically for the talks and learning, you know, the more cerebral aspects. And other people go just to be with their people. So at Frolicon, I'm just really excited for you to explore Frolicon and explore yourself within it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a great learning tool for anybody. But especially for people who are new to it. Because it's kind of like a crash course.
Sure.
Like suddenly you're seeing everyone doing everything and you can watch and you don't have to participate in any way, and you are going to learn some things of, oh, that looks interesting. I wouldn't have expected to be curious about that. And holy shit, I was curious about that. I have no interest in fucking with that shit at all. Like, you know, and it's the whole thing. So
that's exactly,
really excited for you.
That is exactly the right reason for me to go. I know that whenever I wrap my head around any particular subject, of course, you know, you get so much of this growing up because everything's new, literally everything. This is just one part of my life that I've never felt comfortable exploring until now. It's always just been, hey, sex, sure, okay. That's what you do with your partner. Behind closed doors, in the bedroom, whatever. If you're lucky, in the car or in the forest, whatever, you know. But kink will be something that I expect to open up my mind into more possibilities. I'm pumped. I'm really, really happy that we've made this. We've gotten this far, and now this is the next leg of the journey. Come so far from the Georgia Alchemy Burn, where I kind of just got a taste of what life has to offer. Completely out of my elements, and that's kind of where I want to be, because I'm finding out that's more and more where I thrive, is putting myself in situations in which I'm not comfortable. Then I can figure out what I'm actually made of, and learn and grow. I mean, multicellular organism floating through space. Here we go. What other things can I change while I'm a blip on the radar?
It's amazing what you discover about the world or about yourself when you just kind of take one step off of the predetermined, societally expected path, and you see, holy shit, everything I've been taught to be my entire life by my parents, by media that we watch, you know, movies and books that we read, you know, there's that subtext of this is the only way to live. And then you get to discover that that's not the only way to live. And there's so many, I mean, millions of people doing it in millions of different ways. And you just actually have a lot more freedom to explore and do whatever the fuck you want with your life. You just kind of need your eyes opened at some point to realize that that's even possible, because you can't realize it's hard to make that discovery yourself if you have never been made aware of it. So it's really cool to hear that a burn did that for you.
It really did.
Yeah.
I mean, that was big. And I'm going to hope, and I want to put this energy into myself moving toward for Frolicon, that it'll have a similar impact with my sexuality involving kink. Alchemy was a pivotal moment in my life with my relationship with Sarah and the way I treated my own world, both personally and professionally, changed because I got to experience a different way. It's all about taking a plunge, and that was a big one for me. I'm so thankful for all the people I've met. You and so many people have just, ever since then, just been a huge part of my life. I'm infinitely grateful to even know you and to be able to love you because you exist and I exist at the same point in history is fucking incredible.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. I have a very common fantasy is, for me being a cisgendered straight man, is the threesome with 2 women. Mm-hmm. Okay. My partner is demisexual, attracted to personalities more than body types. So, yeah, knowing that my wife also loves the female form is such a big turn on for me. God. So the possibility of having a threesome for me is a very real one, mm-hmm. That wouldn't be possible if we were in a monogamous closed marriage. Mm-hmm. So what I want, and I'm putting it out there in the universe, is to have a threesome. Having a partner doesn't necessarily have to be a closed triad or, anything like that. It could be a very situational type person that we involve ourselves with. But of course, we got to be comfortable. I think that's first and foremost, because I'm also the same way. Like, I know what I like, and I like building a relationship with someone mm-hmm. before I allow myself to be sexual. Mm-hmm. And Phoenix, I think, is the same vibe. We both want to be really have a good time to chill with them in and out of the bedroom, so to speak. So yeah, I would just love to have somebody with me in the bed to help pleasure Phoenix. For me to have attention from 2 women would be great. We have played with that once before, and it was everything I ever imagined. That's always been a good fantasy for me, just a happy place for me to go to, whether I be by myself masturbating, or even just talking through it with Sarah. Sometimes we're having sex and we'll talk about, hey, what would you do if, so-and-so was kissing on my nipples, and mm-hmm. like, well, fuck yeah, I'd be all about that. Let's get it. So it's all, it's been theoretical. We did have a one-time instance in which one of her friends came over for a weekend. Well, it was like going to be a weekend, and it turned out to be a longer stay, but we were only sexually involved with her for one evening,
mm-hmm. How was that?
It was great. And this is a big thing for me, for us, actually. This person was one of Sarah's former lovers, but also a on and off again friend. Mm-hmm. Their personalities, I would say one of Sarah's alters and this person, were very, very, very dangerously similar, mm-hmm. to the point where they would just feed into each other's egos until mm-hmm. one of them was overfull and exploded. Mm-hmm. So that did happen during this situation, this threesome. Sarah's altar presented prior to us having a name or even recognizing that it was an altar. Mm-hmm. And so when that happened, the sex stopped. Sarah went into had a flashback and could not calm down, and I didn't have the way to the facility to calm her down, and also our third was completely taken aback. Also had no idea what to do. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, the sex stopped there, and I think that was another trauma that Sarah internalized a little bit. Mm. I also took it to heart and said, oh man, maybe this is a bad thing then. Maybe this is not what it means to be good and faithful to a partner, right? Like it was just negative feedback. And I understand now, looking back, we had a few things that we could have done to be a little bit more open about that situation. Maybe whether it be a safe word or some sort of coping mechanism for a specific trigger that we could have talked through and worked through to where we could have been sexual again after that. But yeah, that relationship was tenuous at best, so it may not have been the right person for us in our life at that time anyway. Now I know, and now I've got more tools and more exposure to know when the right time would be, who the right partner may be in the future. We know kind of what to look for if we want to explore that type of relationship.
It sounds like it was a really good learning experience.
It really was.
Even though it was negative, you still gleaned a lot of information from that.
Yeah.
And now you know those things better. And especially since their alters are more known and named and everything, you'll be able to better recognize when those alters are coming out. And obviously being able to discuss, well, if this happens again, how would you like that we handle this and everything? Yeah,
it's definitely about having more experience, because the less you know going into something, I mean, sure, it's exciting, but then there's so much more latitude to make mistakes and to push the boundary too far.
Sure.
So
you also got to start somewhere sometimes.
Yes, that's it. There's always a starting point, and it's about the journey and about how you navigate it, the choices you make, and being able to recognize what choices were made a positive impact and what choices you may want to revisit and change up. But yeah, the sex was great, right? Like, I was getting what I wanted out of that situation, right? Up until the point where it had to stop. But I think more of that is something that I want to actively pursue in my sex life. Coming to terms with that is a big step for me. Being able to say, yeah, my partner is enough in all ways that she is. Like, and she is so many ways a huge part of me. For her to be enough for me sexually is to deny me literally everything else in life. So it's a big word, enough. And I think it's something that Sarah and I are now being able to understand more about polyamory. Is there enough? Like, you can draw a hard line somewhere, but that line needs to be your absolute limit. You can't just, for lack of a better term, pussyfoot it and say, okay, that's enough, right? Or, yeah, sure, you're great. You're all I need, babe. That's the type of relationship I was told was socially acceptable, right? And it was reinforced from all sources. But yeah, it's okay to want more. And it's about growth, and it's about exploration. I really want, in the very near future, for me and Phoenix and her partner in Atlanta to have a threesome. And I want that for Phoenix because she's communicated that to me. She wants to make that happen. I'm fairly confident that our partner will be on board. And I know I am too. I do anticipate a few hang-ups for me just because there's somebody there that I'm not attracted to sexually. But as far as their personality goes, I love them. So I know this. I know my metamor is badass. And so I am totally cool with this. So I think maybe that experience will help us to have more threesomes in the future. I see that as another experience where we can share and learn and grow and figure out where our hard limits are and how to communicate around having a third person in the bedroom. So yeah, I think that will probably be on the very near horizon, and I'm really excited about that. For me and for Sarah.
Yeah. That's cool. That will be very interesting. I look forward to hearing about that later. Of how it'll be for you to be in a threesome with another man that you're not sexually interested in. But I can imagine how knowing how excited Sarah is can be that much more of a turn on for you as well.
Gosh, yeah.
So I mean, I can see it.
Well, yeah.
Still working very well.
We've played with, of course, a dildo is a dildo is a dildo. We've played with toys in the bedroom where she's having, we're having vaginal or anal or oral intercourse while we're playing with toys as well. So, the multiple penetration we know how that feels in theory. I would love to put it into practice with another human to vibe off of. And I know that I can be, the way I see it is it's going to be a very playful mood for all three of us. And I think because I know him personally and I love him, we're going to have, if he's consenting and we're consenting in that moment, it will be a beautiful thing. And I think the three of us can have a really cool time.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Well, I really look forward to continuing to watch your journey.
Yeah. Thank you, Riley, so much. I know that a huge chunk of me would be missing without you in my life right now. And thank you so much. I love you.
I love you.
How great was that conversation? I absolutely adore John, and every conversation we ever have is open and raw, just like that. And I am just so glad I was able to capture one of our conversations and be able to share it with all of you. I am super appreciative that he was willing to be open and honest about where he's at with being poly for the first time and the struggles that he's having internally about it for himself, while also simultaneously having all the compersion and love seeing Sarah going on dates and hooking up with other people and genuinely loving that. That is a pretty unique experience or perspective. Normally the struggle is the exact opposite. So it was cool getting to talk about that. Next episode, I will be chatting with Pinky. He is a man in his 70s, and he has been seeing pro-doms practically his whole life. And so we will get into the nitty-gritty of what he gets out of those relationships. But until next time, stay awesome, friends.